Welcome to the Possibility Action Network podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Middleton, aka Possibilityman. We're committed to bringing you guests who strive to better people's lives and serve as a force for good in the world. Our guest today is Samantha Wyland. She is a certified integrative nutrition coach, health coach. Her passion includes sharing information on health, nutrition, self-care, and well-being. She's the founder of the consulting firm Your Best Life. Samantha Wyland, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Stephen. It's an honor to be here with you.
Well, look, I am excited about our conversation. But first, a reminder to our listeners and our viewers, follow, like, and share this podcast wherever you find it. Samantha, I want to jump right in. Integrative nutrition, what is that about?
So I was a student and I graduated from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition in New York City. I took a year-long course that was during COVID, so it was online. So I was able to take courses anywhere I had a phone or an internet connection. And I knew right away that I wanted to become a health coach. So I started my website, Your Best Life by Samantha. And a year later, I graduated, and the rest is history.
That's fantastic. So what was it like to study to become an integrative integrative nutrition health coach? What was that like for you, the training?
It was very interesting, and it really confirmed all of the things that I kind of already knew. I mean, not that I knew everything, but I had gone through, a lot of difficulties in my own health journey, and I had put a lot of different pieces together to get myself better. And I knew that those things were a combination of medicine, food, lifestyle, exercise, stress management, and IIN is all about that. It's everything both on and off the plate. So it was very, very enlightening and, very, confirmed my beliefs.
Mm-hmm. So your consulting firm is called Your Best Life. How did you come to that? How did that happen for you?
Well, when I was having my own health issues, I was basically non-functional for a good 2 years. And then I was able to do my own research and educate my doctors about the root cause of my condition. And we started to treat the root cause. And the more and more we dove into different aspects of my condition, the better I got. So it started with, 40% better. Like now I'm functional, I can leave the house, but I'm still I have a lot of discomfort. I still have a lot of issues. Then it got to like 80% better, where I was able to function, but I was in constant pain, just trying to ignore the pain. And I just kept saying to myself, if I got this far, I can get to 100%, and I'm not going to stop until I do. And that's where I came up with Live Your Best Life, because there's no reason that people should be going out, trying to put a smile on their face, trying to work, trying to raise a family, and inside suffering so terribly with some chronic condition that controls their life.
Right. We're going to get deeper into what you faced in a moment, but I've got a couple of other questions to ask you, just as we get to know you better. What was your previous career before you became a health coach?
Well, I like to say that this is my third career, and I finally know what I want to be when I grow up. I was, for 20 years, I was a ballet dancer, teacher, director, and choreographer. So very, very different. And then I had a 9-year career in a portrait studio. I designed portraits, high-end portraits for clients all over the country in terms of highlighting their personalities with, the right background, the right clothing, the right lighting, the right settings. So that was also very rewarding and somewhat similar to designing a set for a ballet.
Mm-hmm. So you had a very successful career before you embarked upon this journey. So let me ask you, what pointed you in this direction? You've already given us some clues, but go deeper. What pointed you in the direction of health and nutrition?
Right. It was definitely my health journey. For most of my life, I suffered with digestive issues. And they really took a turn for the worst when I was in my mid-30s. My doctor said, Samantha, your body doesn't like you very much right now. It's going through some changes. And those were kind of like the words of wisdom that sent me down the path to, dig deeper and not just, keep showing up to her and complaining. I had a lot of digestive issues. I had a lot of pain. I had hives. I had rashes. I had bumps in my mouth. I had weakness in my limbs. 4 or 5 times I thought I had the flu. And all the different issues that I thought were not connected ended up being connected once I finally was able to find the right article to bring to my doctor. And I showed it to him and I said, this is what's wrong with me. And he said, yep, you're exactly right.
So what kinds of answers did you get from your doctor? So you were, presenting yourself in their offices. You were saying, these are my symptoms. What did you hear from them? What were they telling you?
Well, so they were treating whatever symptom I came in with that day, they would give me a medication to treat that. And they ultimately diagnosed me with IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome, and which really means, per my doctor, which really means that your digestive issues are caused by physical, emotional, hormonal issues. It's not a diagnosis such as Crohn's or colitis or candida. There's lots of diagnosable digestive disorders that have a specific protocol and a specific treatment plan. IBS doesn't. The plan for IBS is to treat all of the other things around your stomach that are causing your stomach to react.
Mm-hmm. So you said that you had to educate your doctors. I mean, why do you think that was the case? Why did you, a patient, educate your doctors about this?
Because they kept telling me that I had to just deal with it. Here's the medications. Here's my doctor. I wrote a blog on this on my website called The Toolbox. My doctor said, I know IBS is a pain in the ASS, no pun intended. And he said, what you have to do is deal, Samantha. You got to have tools in your toolbox and you got to know when to use them. Because with you start to feel better and you start to make your way up the stairs. And then when you have a flare up, you fall all the way back down. So you have to use your tools, use the medication to stop you so you don't fall all the way back down. Mm-hmm. And he gave me another medication that day that I had a severe reaction to. And it was probably the most miserable 12 hours of my life. And that was when I said, no more trial and error, no more tests, no more, I'm done. We're going to find out exactly what is wrong with me.
Now, were you already a health coach at that time, or did you become a integrative health coach later?
No, I became a health coach later. I had gotten laid off from the portrait studio job. They did some consolidating. So I was just sort of, it was actually during the period. I was working at the portrait studio, and then I was not working there for a while when I started to go through all of this. And it was kind of a good thing that I had the time to be, back and forth to the doctor on a regular basis. And then I had the time to do my research, and I knew what it wasn't. And then I was able to find out what it was. Because actually my gastroenterologist and my gynecologist were going back and forth arguing whether or not it was a gastro problem or a gyno problem. And doing that research and putting those two things together, that was when I discovered that it was both. So
that must have been pretty stressful for you, having two doctors, having conflicting opinions about what was happening.
Yeah, they were going around and around. My GP, my gastro, my gyno, no one could agree. It was just, around and around. It is very stressful,
Yeah. Okay. So let's look at this for a moment now, because there was a period of time in your life when you didn't have this, digestive problem, right? So what might have switched it on? Or let me ask that as a question. Was there a time in your life when you didn't have this gastro issue?
I would say there were times in my life when it was dormant, but pretty much since I was 15, 16, I was diagnosed with a variety of digestive disorders, specifically.
Mm.
I had a hiatal hernia. I had gastrointestinal reflux disease. I had IBS. I think that's all. And an ulcer. I also had an ulcer.
Oh, okay. So what do you suppose might have triggered? You said it might have been dormant in your body before you were 15. What might have triggered your symptoms? Any thoughts about that?
Oh, it was always, for me, it was always stress. I always
Mm.
had a stressful stomach, as everyone said. And a lot of people that experience digestive disorders have that as a trigger. Stress and anxiety are triggers.
Mm.
And, just, growing up in life, you have stress, you have anxiety.
Yeah.
You don't walk away from it just because you have stomachache.
Right.
Until it really
Right.
becomes a chronic issue. And then you have to think,
Mm.
okay, what situations can I deal with and what situations am I going to avoid, which is exactly what I do now.
Okay. So help us understand what this is. Firstly, let's deal with digestive disorders, and then we want to add the modifier chronic digestive disorders. So what is a digestive disorder?
A digestive disorder is any time that your microbiome in your stomach is imbalanced. Now, I tell people, think about the water in your swimming pool. If you don't put in the right amounts of chlorine and pH, the water turns green or everyone gets a rash. Our bodies are very much like that. We have our own very specific set of healthy microbiome. And when that microbiome becomes out of balance, that is when digestive issues occur.
Okay. So what is a chronic digestive disorder?
So it's not a textbook. Neither one of these are textbook descriptions, but in my mind, a chronic digestive disorder is something that controls your life, that you don't have control of it, it has control of you.
Can you give us an example of what that might be?
Sure. So people with chronic digestive disorders, they have to wake up in the morning and plan out their day in a very specific way, whether they have constipation or diarrhea or bloating or vomiting or nausea. Obviously you don't want to go to a dinner party if you think you might blow up someone's bathroom. You don't want to take a long airline flight if you're going to be throwing up. I could be very graphic, but you have to really make choices based on what might happen, because you just don't know. And after trial and error, being places where you think nothing is going to happen and then something does, you learn the hard way. And then you have to start saying no to a lot of different things.
This seems like it's a condition that feeds on itself, because you said stress and anxiety may bring it on, but what you've described is that if you have this situation, you're going to have, well, let me ask you, does the situation bring on?
I call it like going down the rabbit hole, you don't feel well, and then you get stressed because you have to cancel something, or you have to go somewhere, you have to do something. Then you Google your symptoms, and that makes you even more stressed out, and that makes your stomach hurt even more, and then you can do even less things. So it just goes da, 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 da.
Yeah. In reviewing, the kinds of, because you're all over social media sharing and trying to educate us. In reviewing you mentioned irritable bowel syndrome. Is that the same thing as a chronic digestive disorder, or is that one symptom of it?
Yeah, I think they're kind of like one and the same. Chronic digestive disorder can really be anything. Like I said, hiatal hernias, ulcers, reflux, constipation, diarrhea, something that is consistent, not like every, I ate a bowl of chili and, now my stomach's bothering me. That's not anything chronic. That's just, too much jalapeno.
That's lifestyle, huh? So yeah. So, is this like a drop in the bucket when you let's look at American society, or is this something that may affect a large number of people? Has anyone ever looked at that to try to figure out about how many of us are affected by this situation?
I would say 10 to 12% of the population in the United States are affected.
That's significant. That's 10%, 10 to 12%. Wow. So how do Firstly, how do doctors, and I'm talking about traditional doctors now, not health, educators and people like yourself, how do they treat IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, as you said, or chronic disorder?
Most doctors have you tried a variety of different medications? And some doctors will refer you to a nutritionist. They may have a nutritionist on staff to kind of help you rule out some of your triggers that can help you to avoid those things. And the medication is really to kind of just help you get some control and get some relief. But long term, it's not a cure. It's really a Band-Aid.
So how do you, if a patient, is on Zoom, since we're all on Zoom these days, talk with you about their chronic, digestive disorder, how do you work with patients?
So I do a health evaluation. I learn all about all of their conditions, all of their symptoms, the tests they've had, what they normally like to eat, what their family life is like, what their relationship is with their parents is like. And then usually there's something that jumps out at me. I always tell people you can't proofread your own work because you're just going to keep passing over the same mistake because you wrote it. So someone else is going to go, oh, no, you spelled that word wrong. You looked at it 20 times. Didn't you notice? Or you missed a period here. So there's normally some place that I start. So I'll say, I see that you wrote down X, Y, Z. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? And then as they start to talk over the period of 3 months, more and more things start to come out. And eventually there's that, I would say most of the time, there's that aha moment where, oh, you never told me about that. Let's talk more about that. And then we sort of address that issue. And then I usually give them 2 to 3 recommendations to do between our sessions. And then at the next session, we talk about what worked and what didn't. And we kind of go from there.
Wow. I am surprised that when you did your, in hearing you say, you want to know about their relationship with their parents. It's like a social health kind of question. Why is that question on your questionnaire? I mean, how can that figure out in this condition of a disorder in your gut?
Because I think, relationships in general are very important to our overall well-being. And obviously your parents are around since most of us, since we were born. So any, tension or anything going on there would start early stress. So it may come from something that's a long way back that maybe they haven't even thought about in 20, 30 years. Not that I'm saying I'm blaming everyone's parents for digestive issues. Sure. I'm just saying if someone is sensitive to stress or whatever's going on at home, then, that may come back later in life.
Yeah, I understood. I mean, I'm with you on that one. So, and you're also interested in the diet, the kinds of foods that your clients eat. Can you tell us about that? What kinds of things are you looking for?
So I always say that no one thing works for the same 2 people. And usually what I do is I start by eliminating the 5 most common allergens: sugar, gluten, dairy, eggs, and soy for the first 14 days of the program. And then we make an assessment. And if they feel great, they choose to stay off all of those things. Or for me, I can't live without cheese. So I always would add dairy back into my diet. They can gradually add things back in. I call it like a crowding out. So we avoid the things that we know are not good for us. And we identify the major triggers, because the first thing I want to do is have their symptoms improve, in the first 3 to 4 weeks, because they've been suffering this long. I want them to feel better fast. So I hone in on that, whatever it is that is controlling their life. And then we start to gradually add things back in, nutrient-dense foods that can help to nourish their body, balance their gut microbiome. But I don't force them. I don't hand them a cookbook. I don't hand them a recipe. I don't hand them a diet. It's not a diet. It's a lifestyle. I recently had a client that didn't even really know how to cook. So he microwaved frozen vegetables and baked potatoes and, ate some salmon that his wife had cooked over the weekend, and he was still able to have great improvement without being a master chef.
Yeah. You mentioned sugar. I'm glad. I'm going to ask you this personal question about sugar because I was thinking about this morning. I ate 2 dry dates. And what came to me was that, wait a minute now, refined sugar isn't good for you. Does that include sugars that, that comes from fruit, like dates?
I mean, if you were, very, very ill and we were going to completely eliminate sugar, I would completely eliminate fruit. But if you didn't feel that it was a major trigger, if you told me like, Samantha, I drink 3 Cokes every day, I would prefer you to not drink the Cokes and eat 2 dates. It's kind of like a balance. I kind of meet you in the middle,
Yeah, I got you. And you also talk about exercise as being important in your work with clients. Why is that? I mean, I didn't, just why is that important?
Well, it's very important because exercise releases the hormone serotonin, and serotonin is actually made in your stomach. So when you're working out, it's like your happy hormone. So serotonin is released through your body. You get this rush. It's very similar to as if you were to put your hand on a hot stove. It's your serotonin that tells you to put your hand away. So then that helps you. Then once you're done working out and everything kind of settles down back to normal, then you can sort of rest and digest. But if you're kind of in this constant state of angst, where I find a lot with the internet and social media and, running to meetings and eating out of the vending machine, you're constantly in this fight or flight state and you really never get to relax and digest your food.
Yeah, you are very much an educator in my review of you on social media. And I noticed that on YouTube, you offer some mini sessions. Can you share with us what you're trying to do in those?
Sure, absolutely. I do offer a free mini session. I go through the top 3 problems I see my clients have and how I work with them to overcome them. And it's about 20 minutes long, and it really does give a lot of valuable information for people who may just be starting out and feeling frustrated with their doctor, but not necessarily ready to commit to a full program.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you give us a glimpse in how you work with clients? Let's say that you get an email from someone from social media, and they say, look, I would like to work with you. Can you give us a glimpse of, from the intake to how you work with them?
Sure, absolutely. So we would do what I call a free 30-minute transformation session, where I will talk with them about their symptoms, what they have tried to resolve them, what life would look like if they didn't have these issues, and then why do they think that they can't resolve their issues on their own. And at the end of the 30 minutes, if I feel that they're a good fit for my program, if I believe that I can help them, I will invite them into it. And if not, I will do my best to point them in the right direction.
Wow, that's very generous of you. Yeah.
Well, I don't like to be out of my league. I actually just spoke with a client last night, because this month is Digestive Disease Awareness Month, I guess. So I offered free 30-minute pop-up sessions, and I had met with this gentleman probably more than a year ago. And at the end, I said to him, this is out of my league. I don't feel that what's going on with you is a chronic digestive disorder or digestive related at all. This is bigger than I am. This is more of a medical issue. And we parted ways, no hard feelings. And we did another free 30-minute session yesterday that I had offered in my private Facebook group. And we ended up having a wonderful, wonderful revelation. Still, nothing to do with diet, nothing to do with lifestyle, nothing to do with
Mm.
digestive disorders. But he's now on his way to living his best life.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So can you share with us some of your clients' success stories? What are they reporting after working with you?
Right. So the gentleman that I worked with for 6 months, his wife had been laid off from her corporate job, and he was working from home due to COVID. He was accustomed to her coming home. They would both come home every day, 5 o'clock, chit chat about their day. She would make dinner. They would sit down, eat together, watch TV together, go to bed. And now she was working retail. So she had all these crazy hours. She was working nights, she was working weekends, and he was working from home, didn't have any company. He was alone a lot. He didn't know how to cook. And that created a lot of problems with his digestion. So we kind of looked at all those pieces and, came up with a way for him to, be more social, to eat healthier foods, to be more comfortable eating alone, to take breaks for exercise and meditation, kind of break up the day. I can't imagine people that worked in a corporate environment, that had an 8-hour-a-day job, and now you're in your living room in your pajamas for 8 hours a day staring at a screen. I think that's enough to drive anyone batty, which he was not at all. He did have some digestive issues, which he said were 90% resolved by the time we finished.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah. So in reviewing your work, once again on social media, I stumbled across what I heard you, and helped me get this right. I think it's called a 3-step plan. I said, oh boy, that's intriguing. So I'm not sure if you're willing to share some of that here or not, but I'm curious about this 3-step plan of yours.
Yeah, so it's also outlined on my website, so it's not a secret.
Okay.
So step number 1 is we get control. So whatever that primary symptom is that's controlling your life, and there's always usually one that's worse than all the others. So we tackle that first so that you can get relief in the first 3 to 4 weeks, because most of the time, by the time people get to me, they've been suffering for so long, I don't want them to be suffering any longer. So we throw everything at that problem, and within 2 weeks, by the next time I talk with them, the problem has usually resolved at least 50 to 70%.
Wow.
Then we get nourished. So we start to add things into your diet that can replenish your healthy gut microbiome, that give you healthy vitamins, give you nutrition so that you have more energy, you have more stamina, you have better sleep, your hair, skin, everything looks better. And we also nourish your personal life, whether it be relationships, whether it be financial issues, whether it be stress, exercise, that all goes into that part of the program. And then the third part of the program is get back to living your life. So by the end, I want them to have all the tools in the toolbox that they need, not like my doctor said, just deal with it, real life functional tools that they can use so that they can handle any issue that may come up. Because I'll work with them for 6 months, but then let's say 2 months later, a grandbaby is on the way, or there's a tragedy in the family, or things happen, and I want them to be prepared for that. So they're going to live their best life in any and all possible situations.
Wow. Something just struck me when you said that you support them in nourishing their personal life. Can you say more about that? How do you do that?
Well, of course, improving relationships, maybe there's issues with the marriage, or family, or parents, or in-laws, or back when I was studying at IIN, we had to do practice coaching, a bunch of us teamed up to coach each other, and we all had different specialties, and I don't even think any of us knew what our specialty was going to be. And I was speaking with this girl. She meditated on a regular basis. She was already eating a ridiculously healthy diet. I'm like, I'm never going to find anything to tell this girl. So she kept telling me that I just feel stuck in my business. We were getting ready to graduate. it was kind of time to, put herself out there, advertise, whatever, promote. And she said, I just can't, I feel like I'm not ready. I'm just stuck. So we talked and talked and talked, and she was eating all the right things. She was meditating. She was doing yoga, essential oils, everything you could think of. And then she said something about, well, yeah, since my relationship ended. And I said, whoa, that's interesting. Wow. How long ago did that happen? And then as she started to talk to me more and more about this relationship ending, the tears started to flow, and she started to realize that by not being able to let go of that relationship, by holding on to that pain, that's what was keeping her from being able to launch her business and promote herself.
That's interesting. Wow. Who would have thunk it? You did.
I feel like I'm a detective.
Yeah, that's great. So it seems to me that you are truly integrative in your practice, because this is not just one thing. This is like holistic. You look at everything.
Absolutely.
That's great. So looking back, Samantha, from where you were before you discovered, this path, how has your life changed?
I am 100% healthier, happier. I feel in control of my body and my health. I know when to use medication. I know when not to use it. I know because digestive issues are something that are never going to completely go away. It's not like if you have a hernia and then they repair it and you're better. So I do have flare-ups. My triggers are, stress and hormones. So normally, as healthy as I eat, and I take some medication on a regular basis, you put two stressful things and hormones swing in there, and boom, I usually have a flare-up. So I always try to health coach my way out of it. Maybe I ate too much cheese. Maybe I should eat more salads, and I do that for a couple of days, and then I have medications that I know I can reach for, and boom, 2 days, I'm back in control.
So is this something then that you get to balance, that you balance it? Okay. That sounds good. Yeah. Well, I'm so happy.
Balance of science and nature.
Yeah. Oh, before I forget, I also wanted to ask you, because you mentioned, good nutrition. In fact, you said natural foods, but also nutrition shows up in your work. Where are you on the subject of supplements? Do you have an opinion about those?
I don't have a problem with supplements at all. I always recommend that my clients take a high quality probiotic, something that either needs to be freeze dried before it's shipped or has to be refrigerated. I always recommend they take a digestive enzyme, helps them to break down the food and absorb more of the nutrients that are coming in so that they can get those vitamins and minerals. I don't have a problem with people taking, multivitamins, different supplements. I won't make recommendations, but they have to be supported by a healthy diet. Because if you're not getting those vitamins from food, you're not going to make up for it by taking a supplement.
Mm-hmm. Do you have an opinion on consuming animal products?
Personally, and this is my personal choice, since I was very, very young, my mother caught me feeding filet mignon to my dog, and she told me that she wasn't going to make meat for me anymore, and I said that was fine because I just didn't like it. I never liked the texture. I never liked the consistency. I like to say everything in moderation. If you're going to eat meat, try to make sure that it is, grass-fed beef. Try to avoid the steroids and the antibiotics. And I know that can be complicated, but I always say, lean meats, healthy fats, a good mix of fruits and vegetables and whole grains.
Mm-hmm. That's a great response. You didn't just dismiss it, but you said, moderation, and we should be moderate, I would think, in a lot of things that we do. So I like that response, Samantha. Yeah. So is there anything you care to share with us that we have not touched upon already?
I don't think we really did a deep enough dive into sugar. Okay. I really feel sugar and processed foods. I mean, our country is just inundated with sugar, processed foods. Everything comes out of a box, ready-made, ready to eat, ready to go. And those chemicals and, you know, and the amounts of sugar that people consume, I'm just blown away by it. And those things, especially processed foods are not meant to be digested by the human body, because our bodies are the microbiome, and our digestive systems have not evolved. So we are basically the same biologically as cavemen. Now, cavemen couldn't go to McDonald's and get a Big Mac and fries or eat Cheez-Its, you know. So when our body gets those things, it has no idea what to do with them. And the processed material will pound on that gut microbiome, which is, they call it your gut wall, until it is able to get through. And then it normally gets bounced back out, like rejected, and then it will attach itself to your cells somewhere in your body. And having those cells clogged up with lots of junk is what leads to chronic illness, you know, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, on and on.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned processed foods, because, and you know, this is a huge, you know, international conversation about processed foods, but some people may still not know what is meant by processed foods. Help us understand, educate us there. What is that?
If it didn't come from the earth, it's processed.
Okay. Well, that's simple enough. Okay.
Graham crackers grow in the garden.
Yeah, no, but others may push back and say, well, look, you know, Samantha, in the United States and maybe in the Western world, countries in the Western world, so like we have in the US, we have the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. Aren't they watching the landscape? Aren't they making sure that these box foods are good for us? How would you respond to that?
I would say that is a very, very political issue. And honestly, I think I'm going to dodge the bullet on that one.
Okay, look, you're good. You should run for political office. That's a great one. But I'm with you there, though. I'm
definitely a health advocate, but I'm not going to take on the FDA.
I got you. Well, that's fantastic. But look, I enjoyed talking with you today. I've learned a lot. You've reminded me of a lot, and I'll try to exercise more care when I walk into my kitchen or when I go into a grocery store. So thank you for being with us today, Samantha.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And anyone that wants to learn more about my program, you can go to yourbestlife.samantha.com. And my social media is all the same: Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, Your Best Life by Samantha. So I hope to see you there.
Okay, and great. Now let's make sure that we put that information in the show notes of this program. So if you have not sent it to me yet, please shoot it to me, and we'll make sure that everything is in the show notes.
You got it.
Okay. You've been listening to the Possibility Action Network podcast. Our guest today has been Samantha Wyland, a certified integrative nutrition health coach. I'm your host, Stephen Middleton. Until next time, good day